Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host, and this is Walking the Fairways once again for you to check out and understand just what's happening around golf courses right across Australia. Happy Australia Day to everyone out there. This is being recorded on Australia Day. Sensational stuff. I hope you're having a wonderful day. This is episode number 105. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we begin episode number 105. We're going to start in the Sunshine State, start up in Queensland. And at the end of last year, we saw a new announcement of Palm Valley Gold Coast. Now, if you're not sure what that is, that will be the new name of Parkwood Golf Club, what is now Parkwood Golf Club on the Gold Coast, that is set to become, wait for it, a $300 million surf and golf resort. And it's going to have a giant wave pool and resort to be constructed on the site of the current golf club house and / village area. That's where the bulk of this is happening. Now, Mick Fanning has partnered with the managing director, Luke Olschwager, for the project. And I've met Luke once before. Luke is the driving force behind this, and a very, very, very smart individual is Luke, and he's been part of the whole Parkwood rejuvenation and reimagination, and now we're going to another level again with Palm Valley Gold Coast. So Mick Fanning's involved with this one. Now, at its heart will be, like I mentioned, the wave pool. It's a wave lagoon. It's something really impressive. A revamped 18-hole golf course, a brewery, over 200 apartments. This is a big, big project. Now, like I mentioned, I've met Luke before and I've spoken to him a couple of times in the past. And now, look, I guess maybe now it's probably time to see if I can get him on the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast to talk more about this project, because I'm intrigued. It's on the Gold Coast. We haven't seen a golf course sort of redevelopment and something like this for a long time, being that it's somewhat golf-centric. Also around a wave pool, surfing, but also golf. So to see the two combined projects, really unique to Australia as well, the combination of the two. So maybe it's time to see if I can get Luke on. I'll reach out to Luke and see if he's interested in coming on to talk further about the project up there. But Palm Valley Gold Coast is what it's going to be called, and it's currently Parkwood Golf Club, which you might have heard there, up at the suburb of Parkwood on the Gold Coast. Now, we quickly move to the ACT. I don't often talk too much about the ACT, but I thought it's time for a bit of an update. And the new Yowani Golf Club layout, which has been designed by Ben Davey from Contour Golf, is growing in very well down there in Canberra and starting to look incredibly impressive indeed. Now, last October, when I went down to record with Ryan Storrs, Superintendent at Royal Canberra Golf Club for John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens, well, last October I got to catch up with Ben Davey and go out there and have a look on the ground and walk around out there on course and at the new Yowani golf course, the new routings that they've got. It's a whole new renovation of the golf course, going to be completely different, and it's quite impressive. Quite impressive. Throw out the old what you knew about Yowani, and this is a whole new ball game. And there's some really interesting holes down there that it's going to look impressive, and they're going to be holes that I think you're going to enjoy playing as well. Very well thought out holes. Ben showed me around some of the details in some of the areas, and there's a ripper par 3 that's being built in there too. So I can't remember exactly which number it is, but I've got to tell you, it's going to be one that I think will be on your radar when it opens. But it's growing in well. A lot of construction work being done. One to watch and one to follow. I'll certainly be following it and keeping an eye on it and letting you guys know about it. Certainly when we hear more details about when it's soon to open as well. But it's going very, very well down there in the ACT, which I wanted to let you know. Now, over at Federal Golf Club, a shout out to Superintendent Pete Dunn, who I've had on Keeper of the Greens in the past. They're doing some tee resurfacing on their golf course. They're getting rid of any of the cool season grasses that have been in the surface there, and they're dropping in straight Santa Ana Cooch into those tee surfaces from memory. They've got a great deal of fantastic surfaces around the golf course, and these are just the tidy up pieces that as they continue to improve. They've done some work on, I think it was the 11th green, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, down there, and they've had Nathan Bradbury from Golf Spectrum doing work down there in the past. But this is just a couple of tees, trimming things off, continuing to tidy things up, and also improve on the 1%ers. And you hear lots of superintendents and lots of greenkeepers talk about 1%ers, and Federal continue to kick their little 1%ers along and keep improving where they can. Great stuff out of the nation's capital. Now we go to New South Wales. And I'd said I'd update you on the work that was being done at the lakes that I reported in last Walking the Fairways there in Sydney. Well, OCM have done some changes, and the work has been completed at the end of last year, like I mentioned. And some of those minor changes were in the greens, but now I can tell you it was on greens 4, 5, 6, and 12. Greens were rebuilt and new surface levels were implemented. Some of the bunkers also that were around there were changed a little bit, along with some of the sandy waste areas. So these are little tweaks as golf courses evolve, as they continue to grow, as they continue to mature. Little things will come out to the architects as they look at the golf course and reassess as 5 years moves on to 10 years and the like. And it's always a continual improvement of the golf course. And we've seen this from many, many years ago, when the earliest architects would do that as they worked on improving their golf courses. And this is what should happen and what needs to happen to continue to maintain your golf course. The Lakes, nevertheless, is one of those golf courses, and they've been doing that over the end of last year into the new year period, and it's all starting to finish up really nicely there at the Lakes. So that's what they've been up to. I wanted to clarify that and give you a little bit more detail. We moved down to the south coast of New South Wales to Shoalhaven Heads Golf Club, and down that way they're currently going through rebuilding their fourth green complex, including a new greenside bunker at the front right. Now the fourth hole is a mid-length par 4 that will now have a bit more challenge when approaching the green due to the new greenside bunker and its location. Good to see works going on. Shoalhaven Heads has a fantastic name down the south coast. So if you're travelling down that way, it's a very, very popular holidaying region down the south coast. And Shoalhaven Heads is a popular course with the locals, well and truly, but also travellers, and they know it's got a great name down that way. So Shoalhaven Heads is doing a little bit of work down the south coast. And of course, don't forget about, I've got to mention the WebEx Players Series Murray River at Cobram Barooga, of which I'll be attending with my partnership of John Deere, and I'll be joining them as part of the Women in Turf program and supporting them through that. We're going to be doing a podcast down there and there'll be a few things going on. So again, keep an eye on my socials. That's happening this week. I'm heading down, and the tournament starts on Thursday through to Sunday. Big fan of the WebEx Players Series. It's going to be sensational. So I had to mention that one to you. It's a great event, and the Women in Turf program obviously is going to be a big one, and I'm working with John Deere and going to be bringing some good content for you. That's going to see a couple of episodes in February for John Deere Golf Keeper of the Green. So I had to let you know about that one and keep that one in your eyes and your ears to make sure you can keep following, because there's going to be some good stuff coming out of that. Now we move down to Victoria, and I've got to start off with a congratulations to Superintendent Nico Douglas at Cranbourne Golf Club, and also Superintendent Adam Lamb at the newly renovated Commonwealth Golf Club for successfully hosting the Australian Amateur between both of those clubs. So congratulations, gents, and to both your very well-oiled machines in your teams, your course teams there that you guys are leading. There was a lot of hot, dry weather. It made things a little bit challenging leading up to those events, and for their respective teams to get the courses right up to speed, and they did so. They did so very, very well, and did a fantastic job preparing the course. So congratulations again to all involved on the course maintenance staff of Cranbourne Golf Club and Commonwealth Golf Club. You guys should be very, very proud of yourselves. And the event was won by Jai Halls, and he hammered the field in the final round to come away with a win by 7 strokes. So a big win there, and the Australian Amateur Champion Jai Halls. Now we move along another event that was recently on, and congratulations to Superintendent Nathan Turner and his team over at Latrobe Golf Club. And that was almost 2 weeks ago that they played host once again to the Melbourne International, which is a WPGA event. We get some sensational females coming to play that event at Latrobe. Really good to see that one being, again, played on a fantastic golf course and a well-presented golf course at Latrobe. The course was in spectacular condition for this event, which was taken out in a playoff at the end by rookie professional, 22-year-old West Australian Abby Teasdale. So congratulations to Abby, and a big congratulations, as I said, to Superintendent Nathan Turner and his team at Latrobe. They've hosted this event now for a number of years, and it's a great women's event for the WPGA on their roster, and we get a few young female professionals and a great mix of people, along with some international names as well, competing in that field. And it's great to see Latrobe in there hosting events like this and in the mix, which is really impressive. So congratulations to everyone involved. Really good to see Latrobe still kicking some goals down there and continuing on with this event. Moving now to Settlers Run Golf and Country Club, and a shout out to Superintendent Brenton Clark. And at the end of last year, they began some adjustments with construction to their 6th hole, where they're doing some changes to the creek that's on the inside of the dogleg of that particular hole. Now, they're changing the creek into a shallow wetland, and it's an interesting change that will obviously mean there will be more permanent water within that area instead of a creek that flows sort of only when there's excess water and high rainfall, if you like. They've also been completing some extensive fairway drainage works to improve on those areas that just don't dry out properly. It's a little bit heavier ground there at Settlers Run. Fantastic layout of a golf course, and they've been working through some of these new works very, very well. So, like I said, a shout out to Brendan Clark and everyone involved at Settlers Run, but good to see them improving. Now, the WebEx Players Series Victoria being held at Rosebud Golf Club once again. I think this was the actual first WebEx Players Series event that was held a number of years ago at Rosebud, and they continue to play host to the Victorian arm of this series, and they're a fantastic facility. Superintendent Ian Todd and his team have done a superb job preparing the golf course for this event, as always. And as I record this, there has not been a result yet on the event. They're currently in a playoff between Jack Carter and Michael Wright. So you'll have to keep an eye on yourselves as to who's going to take out the WebEx Players Series Victoria at Rosebud. But that's a playoff currently being held. I'm recording this late in the afternoon on Sunday, so I was hoping to have a result, but the courses look fantastic on television as always, and as expected. Strangely enough, we've got to have a fair bit of high expectation of at Rosebud playing host to this event, and Superintendent Ian Todd, as always, and his team have done a fantastic job preparing for the event on television. Now, the redesign work by OCM at Ogilvy, Cocking and Mead at Huntingdale is being hammered out by the team. They are moving through this golf course redesign in leaps and bounds. And some images are starting to come out of the golf course, and it looks incredible. As you would expect, again, there's a level of expectation when we hear OCM and their redesign work. So it's looking impressive. It's looking incredible. There's a course routing plan. I might repost it again so you can see it and see what they're up to. It just gives you a guide to what they're currently building on course. I'll keep you updated on this one, but it'll probably be photos more so than anything else, so stay tuned to social media accounts. And it does look sensational, and a big change to bring Huntingdale back onto the scene. So well done by all involved down there, and looking forward to seeing it. There's been a new appointment of OCM to Riversdale Golf Club down there in Melbourne, and this is a change from where the club was previously. So I'll be interested to see what the OCM team come up with for Riversdale. But I just thought I'd make mention that that this is where they're going now, having appointed OCM recently to Riversdale. We head now to Tasmania. Now, Tasmania hasn't been a great deal of news coming out, apart from the fact that Country Club down there in Launceston is doing a whole lot of work, and there's not a lot. Everything's kept quiet down there at Country Club, but so I can't really tell you much, apart from the fact that there's lots going on. Outside that, I'm not sure if you've heard or you saw, but for those who missed it, there's a new superintendent in town at Barnbugle. Yes, indeed. Sadly, the great Phil Hill, who has been superintendent at Barnbugle for so many years, and incidentally, the very, very first interview I had on my Keeper of the Green segment way back in episode number 24, and Phil is an absolutely fantastic gentleman. And terribly kind with his time. Absolutely incredibly kind with his time he was. And look, Phil Hill has called it time on his career. He's retired and has stepped out of Barnbugle. That happened last year. And Barnbugle were looking for a new superintendent to take up the reins, and they have recently announced Rod Hinwood has taken up that post as superintendent of Barnbugle. Now, for those who haven't heard of Rod Hinwood before, well, Rod is no stranger to high expectations. You see, Rod was previously superintendent of the one and only Elliston in New South Wales. Now, Elliston is the private golf course on the Packer family estate up in the Upper Hunter region on the Barrington Tops, on the western side of the Barrington Tops. It's of the same name, obviously. Elliston is the name of the property and Elliston is the name of the golf course. So Rod Hinwood has made his way down to Barnbugle, and Rod will put his name on Barnbugle, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Rod is able to bring to the Barnbugle family, if you like. They've got the 3 courses down there. They've got Barnbugle Dunes, Lost Farm, and Bugle Run. So Rod's got an absolute wealth of experience behind him working up at Elliston since it was built. So yeah, look, a very, very high-profile name to go from Phil Hill now to Rod Hinwood, and look forward to seeing it. So congratulations to Rod. Not sure if Rod listens to the podcast at all, but for those that know Rod, he's down at, you obviously know that he's now down at Barnbugle, and looking forward to see just what Rod is able to do. And I'm sure there's projects happening in the pipeline or thought of in the pipeline there at Barnbugle. Who knows what's next for them, but that's a big appointment and great to see. Heading to South Australia, to Glenelg Golf Club, led by Superintendent Tim Warren, and they've kicked off the year in full flight. They've absolutely started the year strong in full flight with holes 8 and 9 on the receiving end of their course development works. Now, significant changes to the holes, along with the fairway bunker on the left-hand side of the 9th fairway being removed altogether. There's some works to the water body that's around there, and fairway adjustments, greens being rebuilt, redesigned. Sensational stuff that continues to happen at Glenelg. I'm a big fan of Glenelg now, having seen it from a couple of years ago when I went down to Adelaide to LIV Golf, actually, and I stopped in early one day, and Tim was able to show me around Glenelg. Now, when this is all finished at Glenelg, they will be punching above their weight, and I mean punching hard. This golf course is being so well improved, redesigned, reimagined, and I can't wait to see how it goes in the ranking by the people in the ranking systems of the magazines, for example, and people who just play it for the first time, or if they haven't played it for a number of years before the works have started, and then they play it when it's all finished. But I tell you what, from what I've seen, this is very, very special. And there aren't a lot of golf courses that I've seen renovated and redesigned that are doing the changes in a way that sort of blows your mind. There's some obviously new golf courses, and we know you'll be able to hear about 7 Mile when it opens, and the Cape Wickhams of the world and that sort of stuff. But this is like on the scale of a Royal Sydney, Gil Hance. This is like on a scale of even OCM at Huntingdale, if we're talking about something that's recent. What's being done down there at Glenelg is absolutely incredible, and it's really, really impressive. I can't quite put it into words. It's probably an entire podcast on its own when they're finished to talk about the changes. But keep watching at Glenelg, and I'll keep posting about Glenelg, and I'll keep talking about Glenelg because it's worth it. And if you're ever down in Adelaide and you're looking for a trip or somewhere to play, you have to put Glenelg on your list, and don't think it's worth saying, oh, look, I'd go to a Royal. And I'm a huge fan of Royal Adelaide, as you know, and all the golf courses in Adelaide, Grange, Kooyonga and the likes. But Glenelg is an absolute must on your list to play, and certainly when it's finished it will be, that's for sure. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Walking the Fairways is about bringing a little bit more insight, a more regular insight into what's happening on golf courses around the country, and we're going into Adelaide to the wonderful Grange Golf Club on the north side of town, host of LIV Golf Adelaide, and I've got on the line Superintendent Rowan Daymond. G'day, mate. How you doing?
Good, Steve. How are you?
Mate, very well. Now, it's the beginnings of 2025, and you've got a little bit on your plate, mate. You've probably been going a pretty busy time at the end of 2024. LIV's moved a bit earlier. How's it all happening for a February event this year in the middle of summer?
Yeah, we're travelling along pretty well. There was, a little bit of action into Christmas, just with that break over the period. The contractors were away for a couple of weeks, so they got a little bit done prior to that point, and then went away for a couple of weeks and come back and hit the ground running.
Going hell for leather, no doubt, mate. It's obviously talking to people that are listening that the event was in April for the first 2 years that it was on. Fantastic event. I think the event won, what was it, best golf event on the planet last year? Is that right?
Best golf event in the world, I think it was.
In the universe?
Certainly. In the
It's
universe,
it's not played on any other planet, so we'll call it the universe, mate. It was an incredible event. I was there. I caught up with you briefly during, and mate, it was just, tip of the hat to yourself, the team, the volunteers, the club, everyone involved. It was a magnificent event, and second time around is probably harder than the first time. Is that fair to say? You got a bit of expectation?
Yeah, I think the stress levels were a little higher than they were in the first one, but I think we set ourselves a high bar for the second one, and we got away with it. So it was
a lot of work, mate. You've done very, very well, and so we've moved a couple of months early. That puts it summer. Summer in Adelaide's pretty intense. What sort of things are you up against in preparing for a summer tournament?
A whole different set of challenges, I guess. It is hot here. We only recorded 220 mil of rain last calendar year.
Wow.
We've had about 40, 45 or 50 since August last year, I think.
Are you serious?
So it's been dry, so obviously that's going to come into play, but obviously growth at that time of the year is a challenge. Mainly revolve around the weather. So, but we do it every year, and we've held tournaments in February before. So it's not something we're not used to, but just a different set of challenges to April. That's for sure.
It's and are we expecting maybe a little bit different out of the golf course from a playing perspective, and certainly from a spectators? What sort of things are you expecting the golf course to produce, being a February tournament to April?
Yeah, well, it's obviously a little easier to dry the thing out.
Is that a double-edged sword? Is that going to be something that you'll have to watch in case it goes too far?
Well, I guess that is something you've got to manage, but we plan on taking a little bit more of a sustainable or a bit more of a seasonal approach to managing it this year. I think people can probably expect to see the course a little different than they have during those April events, a little bit drier around the edges here and there. The plan is to have the greens firmer than what we were able to achieve in that April time frame. Again, hopefully the weather's on our side and we don't get the only bit of rain we're going to get during summer a day before the event starts or something like that. But that's the plan from here on in, is just to manage things a little bit similar to what we maybe would, not go overboard with water use and that sort of thing from here. So
And are you expecting, I remember walking on course last year, seeing the fairways, I think you had them at 8 mil and that sort of stuff. I mean, are you still able to produce those sorts of things knowing it's summer?
We would be able to. We're not planning on leaving our fairways down that low this year. They've come up to 10, but that's, I don't think we'll see a great deal of difference in it visually, just in that couple of mil of marking height. No. Greens will still be the same height. Surrounds will be at 8 mil. It won't be. You won't see a hell of a lot of difference in the cut quality from 8 to 10. But like I said, there might just be a few drier edges and hopefully greens are a little firmer.
And that's something that Adelaide, it's good. The contrasting colours is what's so good about golf in Adelaide. That's what I like to see as well, and certainly I'm sure that'll stand out more, like you mentioned, with the temperature. Mate, can you tell us a little bit about, is your team, how big's the team going to be? Have you got volunteers already pegged up that you've got on the list to come and help again like you had last year?
Yeah, so we've our our normal number is 32. We're running with 32 at the minute. We'll have 25 volunteers here for the event, again from sort of all the reaches of the country. We've already got a volunteer here for a couple of months, Penny Dehan from Oatlands Golf Club.
Oh, wow.
So Penny's here for a couple of months to get a bit of pre- and post-tournament experience, so that's been good for the group and good for Penny. So, we're looking forward to having everyone here. Probably a bit of a different feel for a lot of our staff having that February event. Not a lot of them have been through a summer event, so that'll be interesting to see what they think. But yeah, it's we're building up for it.
And mate, third year in, is the buzz still there within yourself? Look, I'm sure it is, but I'm going to ask because I'm curious to know: is the buzz still there for 3 years now to soon have under your belt about doing LIV? And is it still exciting seeing the stands going up and doing all the logistics and the hard work? What's that like?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty exciting when it all starts to come together. I think the excitement for me doesn't really pick up until you actually start seeing the crowds pour through the gates. There's obviously a lot of work that goes into getting it to that point, and I'm a little bit fixated on that at the time. And then when the gates open and the crowds start coming in, you can sort of sigh a breath of relief if things have gone well. And it's usually that point that I start to not relax, but just to enjoy the moment a little bit.
Take it in a little bit more. And instead of the whole in work mode and in focus, you get to take it in. One of the things I noticed, mate, and I'm just going to throw it out there, in the lead up to the event, because I think that, if I'm not mistaken, you have members as well that help with the gate entries and handing out maps and bits and pieces for people to have a good experience. And I really got that passion from the locals, the people involved in the volunteering side of things. Do the members sort of take ownership and really get involved in the buzz as well? How does that work from a club perspective?
Yeah, we do have a lot of our members put their hand up for the volunteering for the week. We have, I think, LIV have about anywhere between 600 and 800 volunteers for the week.
What? Wow.
Yeah. And so
that's huge.
A fair percentage of that is our members, and I don't quote me on it, but it might be as many as half or more that put their hand up for those jobs around the place. But I think, having our members on the gate, greeting people as they come in, there's a sense of pride, and they really get around it. And I think that rubs off onto the spectators. I've had so many people mention to me the fan experience of just being, you walk in and you don't really understand what it's going to be about, and then they come in the gate and they're sort of blown away by the way they're treated and the way they can move around the course and the access that they might have to the players. It's all really positive.
Oh, mate, I like I said, I loved going and that. There was a first thing that hit me on the first time I went for the first event, but also the second time was that hospitality from the members that are volunteers, from the volunteers that make you feel really warm. As soon as you walk in the gate, it's like you've walked into someone's home, and they're happy to show you around. They're proud to welcome you and make sure you enjoy yourself. And the wide demographic of people that go is different to anything else I've experienced. So, mate, it's really good to hear that they are involved, and it is part of the experience that I certainly felt when I was there. From a crowd perspective, mate, are we bigger this year with stands? How are you going with that sort of infrastructure?
The stands are probably about the same footprint overall.
Yep.
Maybe slightly bigger. There's a lot more seated grandstanding around this year.
Okay.
So there hasn't been any seated stands in the last 2 years, but this year they've decided to bring it in, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But it's going to be as big as it has been the last couple of years. So
mate, great to hear, and really excited, mate. Mate, I really appreciate the insight. That's what this is all about: is giving people a little bit of a few little snippets to be able to get that insight into the Grange, mate, and into the LIV event. I thank you, Rowan, for being involved and for jumping on for a few minutes and sharing us a little bit of the insight of what's happening in preparation for LIV down at the Grange in Adelaide. Thank you, mate.
Thanks for the call.
Now we head over to the far west, to Western Australia, for the final stop in this episode of Walking the Fairways. And we're going into Nedlands, a couple of 9-holers I want to talk about. We're going to Nedlands Golf Club on the western side of Perth City. Now, it's a magic 9-hole golf course, and at the end of last year, they began their greens replacement program, which will be conducted over this year, being 2025. The grass being used on the surfaces is 007 XL bent grass, and this is a different variety of the bent grass to, say, Pure Distinction, which you've often heard me talk about. Lots of work to improve Nedlands this year, so keep an eye out as each green comes into play as the year progresses. But the 9-hole golf courses in WA, certainly in Perth, they do things differently to what we do here on the East Coast. They're high-profile, high-quality experiences on the golf course themselves, not just in the clubhouses, for example, and those other parts and other facets of your experience. The golf course is high-quality stuff. They treat them as good as any other golf course, whereas sometimes, certainly in Sydney, I can speak of, we tend to think of 9-hole golf courses as a lesser quality experience. In Perth, they're as good a quality as the highest private ones going around, which is very, very interesting and somewhat different to the East Coast. So interesting to see and interesting to keep an eye on Nedlands and see how they're going and keep an eye on how this one plays out and improves for them on course. Now, Mount Lawley, enough said, just huge, massive, impressive. I don't need to say anything more, but I will. This is going to be epic, is what I've got to say. Mount Lawley is soon to open their course after a full greens replacement program designed by OCM. And we continue to hear a lot about OCM, and I'm going to talk about a lot of other architects that are doing a lot of work around the country, but some of this work currently by OCM is soon to be open, and that's why they get a lot of mentions. And I went over to Mount Lawley. I went to Perth mid-last year, and I got a chance to go into Mount Lawley. And I met with Superintendent Rod Tatt, and a shout out to Rod, who was kind enough to show me around the golf course and give me a great deal of his time. And I've got to say, wow. How incredible is Mount Lawley going to be when it's opened? Absolutely mind-boggling. Now, they'll be hosting the WA Open in October, and that's something that you want to watch. I can tell you that right now. This golf course is sensational, and they're only days away from opening. It's under 2 weeks from opening up, fully finished on the golf course with all the greens redesigned and reimagined, and some of them not so reimagined. And by that I mean, I'm recording on Australia Day, so by that I mean there's the 13th, the Commonwealth hole is what it's called, and it's a map of Australia. It was originally, there's an old photograph that showed the green looking very much like a map of Australia. Over time, a lot of the curves and shapes were very much softened, and it was just a real sort of an overly type loose effort of the map of Australia. But OCM reimagined it, they rebuilt it, they redesigned it to look like the map of Australia again. It's very, very obvious and quite sharp in effect in its corners. And there's the island of Tasmania is in the middle of a giant bunker, but it's a grass island in the map of Tasmania, if you like. So I've just put up something on my socials about it for Australia Day. So if you want to go and see some of that, go over to their social pages as well, and you'll see it. But I kind of thought it was a bit of a gimmick. I kind of thought, oh, geez, a bit of a cringe. When I went there and Rod showed me on the ground what the golf hole and what the green complex looks like, it is not a gimmick. You can kind of not really tell that it's even a map of Australia on the ground. I mean, you can, but you got to kind of really look for it. The high aerial drone photography is obvious. When you're on the ground, it is staggering how fantastic the green has been built and designed and shaped and how well it works. Everything works so well on the ground. So I've gone full circle from me thinking that it was going to be a gimmick and a cringe to seeing it in person and going, wow, this is sensational on so many levels in so many ways. So congratulations to OCM for designing something that is actually really, really exceptional on the ground. And these are the differences that you don't quite get when you see a photo. So I reckon I'm pretty good at picking things in photographs, and I do a lot of study of photos because you can't travel everywhere all the time, of course. So I look at a lot of images, I look at a lot of photographs, and I kind of thought I had this one licked and it wasn't going to be a great execution. Then, having been there on the ground, I can categorically tell you that I was absolutely wrong. And on the ground, it is incredibly sensational. So hats off to everyone involved, and of course to Rod Tatney's team for growing it in so well, maintaining it and bringing the best out of it. Now, the greens have been seeded all over the golf course. They've been done with 007 bent grass. We hear about the 007s, the 777s and that being used. I certainly think a lot more in Perth and the Western Australian end of town. And here we are at Mount Lawley, and they've got 007 on the ground again. And we just heard it before talking about Nedlands. So, you'll hear a little bit about some more of those 007s, 777s over in Perth on the West Coast. It seems to be, and that's what seems to work quite well over there in their environment. But what can I say? Mount Lawley, hats off to everyone involved, particularly the club, on embarking on such a big project. OCM for the design work because it looks incredible, and Rod Tatney's team for their grow-in and maintaining the golf course the way they do. This golf course is punching above its weight. So there's some really impressive golf courses that are doing great work around the country, and Mount Lawley is another one of them, along with Glenelg. And you know what's interesting about both of those two courses, Mount Lawley and Glenelg? They're not long golf courses, and the design works that have been built into them are really super cool. Ryan van der Veen's done a great deal of work at Glenelg, and I know I've been on the ground, and I've spoken to Ryan on the phone, but I've been on the ground with Tim and seen the stuff on the ground. It is very, very cool stuff on the ground. Mount Lawley, very, very cool stuff on the ground. These are golf courses that you probably 15 years ago, they weren't on your radar. They need to be put on your radar. And I'm telling you that right now as a golfer. And certainly as a greenkeeper, if you're interested in that type of stuff, if you're interested in architecture, you need to go and play them and see. But if you're just interested in golf, like so many of us are, just to go there and play these golf courses, you are going to walk away with a smile on your face from ear to ear. So very exciting. One more for WA, and that's a shout out to Fraser Healy, the superintendent at Seaview Golf Club. And this is a 9-hole golf course. Again, so here's the other 9-holer, and it's at Cottesloe, right on the coast in Perth, in WA. Now, they're currently going through rebuilding their 4th green, which will be stolonised with saltine grass. Saltine is a paspalum and saltine on the putting surface and kikuyu surrounds, and they're also resurfacing their 3rd green, which will be turfed with saltine. Now, as mentioned, the grass type of saltine is a paspalum grass. Now, one of the key attributes about paspalum is it can handle very, very high salinity levels. It can tolerate very high salt content, not only in the air, but also in the soil in particular. And it's often associated, we often see it used in areas in golf courses that have recycled water for use, or high salt levels in their bore water, for example. And over there in WA, in Perth, their bore water has high salt levels in a lot of the places so that they draw from. So it's one of the things that they have to deal with in WA. And the bent grass, Fraser found that was, the greens are 30, 40 years old, he was telling me. The bent grass on those greens were struggling through the high temperatures. So you get high temperatures and high salinity levels in the water and in the soils. It builds up, and it's really, you got to manage that and flush that through the soils using calciums and all these sorts of techniques to really try and manage the bent grass. So they've gone, listen, hey, we're going to start to rebuild a couple of these greens because they're problem areas, and we're going to put saltine in, which is going to manage itself better. It's going to be better to try and maintain it, and that's what they've gone with over there at Seaview, and that's part of the reasons why. But I've got to tell you, one of the things. So I went and saw when I went to try and visit as many places as I could when we went to Perth last year, and again, this is where this 9-hole thing comes in different in WA. Seaview is 9 holes, high-level stuff. You get in there, you have a look around, and you're just like, wow, this is presented incredibly well. And you've probably seen some of the photos I've shared from Fraser and Seaview. And not only is it a 9-hole golf course, but one of the things that I don't know if it's just a Seaview thing or if it's a 9-hole thing in Perth, they've got 2 greens for each hole. I'm pretty sure if it's not for all of the holes, it's for most of the holes. So you've got 2 greens for when you play the second time around. You play to the other hole on another green. So they're often double greens, really, really big, but there's one flag of one colour over there for when you play the front 9, and then if you're going to go around again and play the back 9 for an 18-hole event, an 18-hole competition, or just to play 18 holes, you go to another green. So it's really interesting and different. But what got me was the high level of presentation that they do on 9-hole golf courses. So really interesting stuff. And if you're over that way, go over and go and play at Seaview. Go and play at Netherlands if you can get a game on there. Mossman as well is another one. So one of the things I experienced, and I'm going to do an episode on Perth and my trip to Perth, which I haven't had a chance to do since we went, but I am going to do that early this year because I want to talk about Perth. But there you go. So that's Seaview out there, and Fraser Healy, the superintendent. Thank you, Fraser, for that information. Now, ladies and gentlemen, on Walking the Fairways, I did mention last time we had you listening to Walking the Fairways a couple of weeks ago, was an interesting individual challenge to raise awareness for mental health, and it's done by Nigel Taylor, who is currently living over in Malaysia, and I thought I wanted to introduce you to it. I wanted you to hear about it and let you know that I'm supporting him in being it, and I want everyone out there to try and get on board and support this as well to raise awareness. And I thought, what better way to understand just what Nigel is taking on and ready to ascend and climb in the effort to raise awareness for mental health than to get Nigel Taylor himself on the podcast, on the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast to Walking the Fairways. Nigel Taylor, welcome, mate, to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Now, mate, we're going to unpack a little bit of this in an effort to raise awareness and get a good following for you and support you in any way that we can. Mate, can you tell us a little bit about just what it is that you're trying to do, and how did you sort of get to this point of deciding to start this challenge of Everesting? Tell us a little bit of background to how you got to this decision.
Yeah, well, the bones of it, Steve, is to try and help increase and the awareness of mental health in our industry. You know, it's prevalent. You've talked about it a few times in some of your other podcasts with some of the superintendents around Australia, and even just after my recent social media post, I've had 2 or 3 guys contact me just to kind of reach out for a chat. So
yep.
It's not the industry's fault. It's not anybody's fault, but we just need to try and create a bit more awareness and try and help some people out. Now, I've wanted to do an Everest for a long time. It's a bit of a cycling holy grail to climb the elevation of Everest on your bike, and so it was deciding to do an Everest was fairly straightforward. Last year I dipped into some ultra cycling events, and that really floats my boat somehow. I've not much good at anything else in life. Yeah. I know it's incredibly addictive, and I really can't explain why, but it seems I can do it. It's one of the things in life I'm actually able to do okay at. So
I'm happy to support and watch, but you won't see me on a bike trying.
Yeah, sure. No, fair enough. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. Don't worry. I understand that part of it. It's so I thought, well, while I'm doing these things, why don't I make it worthwhile? And I went through a really tough run last year and really started. I'm not going to say I went to the bottom of a bucket, but I went pretty deep and thought, okay, if I can pick myself up, maybe I can inspire others to pick themselves up as well by getting out and doing these Everests and as you mentioned in the last Walking the Fairways, it's not 1, but it's going to be 12.
Yeah, quite incredible.
And the reason to do 12 is because I think you need to create a bit of a story to follow, so that the message can keep going. Just doing a few social media posts I don't believe is necessarily going to be that effective. But if I can create a bit of a story for the year for people to follow the progress and ultimately the success with any luck, then that'll help to keep people going. And the ultimate goal, I mean, if I can just help one person a month for the rest of the year, that would be quite satisfying. Yeah.
That's it's profound hearing you talk about it, but the challenge that you've set yourself, an Everesting challenge in one on its own, is quite a feat. To do 12, like you said, that's your personal goal, is to do 12, to carry this awareness throughout the year of 2025. So it gets some oomph behind it. We keep it prevalent in people's faces. You're the one who's doing it, nobody else. The idea is that, and as I mentioned last time, we want to get as many people to support you and follow your journey, but to hear you say your goal is to help at least one person a month when you're doing one of those challenges, I mean, that's you've recently been through the personal challenges of mental health, as you just mentioned, and that's I hear you talk about that. I suppose it's something that only those who have been through those really challenging times can probably appreciate, without me being rude to nullify it at all, but I can't speak for that in that way. We hear a lot about it, and we've seen, sadly, lots of results about it, and certainly in our industry over the last few years.
No, but that's exactly right, Steve. You sort of hit the nail on the head, and you know, there's a lot of things in life that you need people that have been through those things, or people that have been expert at those things to understand you. I mean, let's talk about sort of professional athletes. You know, a lot of professional athletes, or a lot of professional coaches these days, are former athletes.
Yep.
So they understand what the athlete's going through. You know, you don't. If you're a tennis player, you don't go to the butcher for advice. You know, you try and find a coach that's, you know, been through the rigors, right? The coach that's played at least some levels to understand, and you know, there's a lot of organisations out there to help, but at the end of the day, if you can speak to somebody that's been through it, it makes it easier to open that door to have that conversation. I haven't really been able to do that with anybody, to be honest. I sort of just tried to pick myself up, but you know, like I said before, I've had 2 or 3 guys already reach out because I guess they feel comfortable. You know, they feel a level of comfort to talk to somebody that's well, I'm putting myself out there. You know, I'm opening myself up. You know, sharing my vulnerabilities. Yeah, that's the goal, and you know, just to open door a little bit. And I guess I coined a bit of a phrase in the last few weeks. You know, trying to help people make a change and turn a page. It's as simple as that, you know, and or turn a page and make a change even, but just as simple as that, you know, just open that door. And I'm okay if people come to me for a chat, especially when I'm doing the Everest. That would be very helpful, actually.
Yeah.
It's a lonely 15 to 20 hours, I can tell you. Yeah.
Only 15 to 20 hours. And that's part of, I suppose that's part of all this is that there is loneliness and understanding. You want people to sort of, I suppose, think a little bit more and understand their own personal situations, and that don't go through it alone. Don't be, you know, feel like you're alone dealing with stuff by yourself. And there is a time to reach out and a time to seek that help and a bit of guidance to work through your own personal challenges and not suffer in silence, which is the way that we often hear is what people go through, is because it's on their own. It's within their own thoughts and in their own space.
Yeah, we're to try and avoid those things. You know, try and help people not be in that situation.
And in saying that, this is something that you and I have talked about. It's not just Australia. We're trying to raise awareness. You're doing. No. You're over in Malaysia. This is raising awareness. Full stop. So anyone who's listening to this podcast, and I know that my podcast does reach to a number of other countries around the world. The US is second in my audience list, and behind Australia, and then it goes to lots of European countries, New Zealand, and so on. So this isn't an Australian-based challenge in terms of awareness. We want people within the greenkeeping industry, and even if you're not, just more broadly, just to raise awareness and get behind yourself and be inspired to step outside, like you said, be a little bit more vulnerable to seek that assistance when you might need it most.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's you know, it's not easy. And I had last year had a bunch of, a whole bunch of stuff come together all at one time last year. I mean, some of it is still trickling over this year, and I'm still having, a few bad days here and there. But you do learn to manage it. You learn to understand when it's coming. But and my outlet is the bike. My outlet, it's the one thing that resets me cognitively. I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's chemical reaction in the body, I suppose. But the ultra endurance stuff, which is what the Everesting is, I'm at my most amount of peace. So I experience the most amount of peace doing those things, believe it or not. Yeah.
Very, very impressive, mate. And again, not just gender specific either. This is for our industry, so men and women. Everyone can go through these things at any time, and you don't realise when you're doing it. So it's for everyone. Well, we just want people to be aware of these challenges, and when they confront themselves, to go and seek some help. That's what this is. Talk about it and get help. And like you said, there are some places to go to as well that you can try and find those guiding lights as well.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. There's resources out there. Yeah, and again, sometimes the resources are a little bit text heavy, a bit heavy on the literature, and that's when you need somebody to prefer to talk to rather than just sitting at a computer and reading the text. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely, mate. You set yourself a bit of background there about getting to doing an Everest. The goal to do one a month is what set you to do one a month. I mean, how did you come to that conclusion?
Well, I didn't know at the time, but the record for Everesting is actually one a week. There's one guy who's done 52 in a year.
What?
But I'm not. Yeah. But I'm just not ready for. I mean, I couldn't. I don't know if I could do that. But so I thought, okay, well, let's do one a month. And another guy actually last year did do one a month, and for a similar reason, actually, a guy in the UK, and so I figure. And that's why I kept it a little bit low-key for the first one, because I just wanted to make sure I could do one. I figure 12 is pretty doable. Yeah, and it just, it fills in my weekends.
There you go. There you go. Now, mate, on the front of what you hope to achieve from this, can you give us a little, and we've already run over it a little bit, I guess. What's the goal here to really get the goal behind the essence of what you're doing?
Well, I mean, the main goal is to just create a whole lot of awareness globally, really get out there. And what I really want, well, first thing is, like I said, I want to be able to help at least one person a month, whether they're coming to me or not, or just get one person out of this horrible, I call it the dirty depression cycle, and start to get up on the up. But to do that, the other goal is I want to try and get as much support from the trade or the commercial side of the industry, and get them to help spread the awareness. Well, I'm not asking for money. I'm not aligned with a charity. That's not what I'm going to do. I don't believe money is necessarily the key to helping or fixing these problems. It's just the awareness and the support. So if there's some key players out there that are interested to get on board to put their name, put their company, their logos behind it, that'd be great, because it's social media is powerful, but it's only as powerful as the people pushing it, right? So I need a big network. I need to create a big network and just get that message out there for the whole year. Again, and that's why I want to do 12, because I think just doing one, it just gets left behind, it gets lost. There's been about 6 weeks between the first one and the second one, but thereafter they're 4 weeks apart. So the story is going to be quite close together
and consistent.
Consistent. And I'll probably do a couple of stories in between each one anyway. We'll just keep that flow going for the whole year. Get to December 31st and knock out the 12th one with any luck.
Wow, that's it's going to be quite an achievement at the end. So let's do that. It's a call out to businesses in the industry, both here in Australia and very much abroad, to getting behind you and spreading the message. Hopefully they can do that through their social media channels and through their internal, I suppose, company networks of letting people know about what you're doing to spread awareness about the mental health challenges that are prevalent, and we know that they're prevalent in our industry, so that we can keep people looking and searching for ways to get better and move through their own personal challenges that they may be going through in life. You talked about you've already achieved and completed your first one. That was on the 1st of Jan, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, it was. I started about 1 a.m. or 1:30 a.m. on the 1st of January.
Wow.
In Malaysia, local Malaysian time. There's still fireworks going when I started. so that was kind of nice, actually. But so that was the first one, and that finished at about 11:15 p.m. on the 1st of January. So it was about 20. I think it's 22 hours. It was from sort of start to finish.
Can you give us a little bit of a detail on what you'll be enduring, literally, through this endurance exercise per Everest? How does it unfold, and what are some of the details?
Okay, so a quick rundown. The Everest is a challenge that was designed about 10, 15 years ago by a bunch of guys who wanted to ride, but they obviously can't ride up Everest, but they wanted to do the elevation of Everest. So quite simply, it's you choose a hill you can ride up anywhere in the world, and you ride up and down that hill as many times as it takes to accumulate the elevation of Everest, which is 8,848 metres. So every hill is a bit different. And the first one was very short. It wasn't so steep, but it's very short and not much elevation. So it took me about 309 laps, I think it was, or 300 and something laps. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the first challenge, and you don't, that number you just kind of delete from your brain pretty quickly because you don't want to be watching the laps tick over. So how I find the climbs is I go onto Strava, which a lot of people know about, and I find where people have done segments up climbs, and I have a look at the statistics on those climbs, the percentage, how long they are, the elevation gain, and then the Everesting website has a calculator. You can punch that URL into the calculator of that segment, and it'll help you to understand how many laps, how long it'll take,
right?
Based on a few other numbers. Yeah, so there's a bit of work to it. There's a bit of back work to it, so you can get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, you want to do less than 300 laps. I can tell you right now, because that's quite a challenge. So I think the next hill I was out on the weekend, a little bit of a recce. It's quite a nice climb. The road surface is really nice, and I get a decent amount of elevation out of it. It's about 140 laps, I think. I think it's even less than that. So, but it's a little bit longer. So, yeah, it's quite a lot of numbers involved with it. That one maybe 15 or 16 hours. But yeah, and look, the other thing too is that the reason I'm quite comfortable with it. I probably sound a bit over comfortable, but I did these ultra events last year, and I was doing between 15 and 20 hours a day in these ultra events. So I understand. I know I can do it. It's very mental. I can tell you now. It's actually someone posted on the Everest page. 40% physical and 90% mental, and it's pretty much spot on.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's mate. Like I said, I can't comprehend that. So you do it, and you just literally go up and back. In terms of, do you carry water with you on your bike like we see cyclists do? Do you have the energy eating things that you do? Or I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically you take the segment from Strava, you download it into your head unit. I use Garmin, and then the Garmin record. You kind of record. It gets recorded in the Garmin, so you know how many kind of laps you've got left and how much elevation you've gained and everything. And I just park my car at basically the top of the hill, and look, I learned a few things from the first one. Probably every hour and a half, have a stop, top up bottles. Grab some gels, grab some real food. Trying to have some just regular food. It's probably a bit more science to it than that. But at the end of the day, you just got to crank the calories. I think I burned about 14,000 calories in the first one. So
that's wild.
You can't eat enough. Yeah, you can't eat enough. You've just got to make sure that you've got enough to do it, that's all. But you can't replace what you burn. It's impossible.
And the essence is that you don't sleep. There's no stop for sleep. You just keep going until you get there.
Yeah, you don't stop. You just keep going. Stopping is quite detrimental. You kind of get into a zone, and if you stop too long, the zone gets broken, and yeah, it's not so good. Yeah, yep. And you get cold as well. I mean, it sounds a bit funny in Malaysia, but yeah. Actually, you cool down a bit too much. You don't want to cool down too much. You got to keep your legs warm and keep the rest of you warm. But it does some funny things. My heart rate did some weird things in the first one.
Yeah, right.
Can't have been too bad because I'm still alive. yeah. For the effort, it's yeah. So it's interesting.
Couple of things to finish, mate. You're giving us all the information that we need, which is incredible, just to understand the scale of what you're trying to do for awareness, raising awareness for mental health, and I'll keep saying it. Couple of things. When's your next one? And also tell us a little bit about, after that, the just setting up for socials and that they're coming, I think is what you were telling me.
Yeah, so the next one will be, I will start on the evening of the 14th of February, probably around 10:30 p.m. And obviously that'll push me through to the 15th of February. So, whatever that's going to be, 15 hours after that. I'm just working on some stuff for social. So I'll have a Instagram and probably a Facebook page up hopefully by the time I do the next one.
Yep.
And in the meantime, I'll just update my personal one with some, some progress and training and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll share some of that stuff from your personal one on mine if you're comfortable with that when you do a couple of things, and then once we get the full blown page, you get it set up. I'll be sharing that around, not only telling people here on the pod on Walking the Fairways, but also through my socials as well. We'll get that out there too, mate. So. Nigel, what an incredible challenge you've set yourself to raise awareness. Is that your little? Is that? Look,
it's like
cat's come to say hello.
Yeah, she wants a pat. Yeah.
Mate, an incredible challenge you've set yourself. Let's see how much of our industry can get behind you and supporting you, messages and the like, just to sharing out what you're doing as an inspiration for people to, like you said, turn the page and make a change, to get through those challenges that they have. And you're putting yourself out there, like you said, you're making yourself vulnerable to do that yourself. And we're going to crank this and keep the awareness going for the entire year of 2025. I'll keep people updated on Walking the Fairways with yourself, mate. We might have you back in for a chat from time to time to see how you're going. But Nigel, mate, like I said last time, my hat is tipped off to you incredibly. Let's get as many people following you and inspired by you to make a change and share the story around to raise awareness for mental health, mate. So, mate, we're behind you all the way.
I appreciate that, Steve. Thanks very much, mate. Very helpful.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for episode number 105, Walking the Fairways. Now, there are always clickables in the show notes, so please make sure you check out all the show notes. I want to thank you to both my guests, Rowan Daymond, Superintendent at the Grange Golf Club, preparation for LIV Golf. Great to have an update from you, Rowan, so I really appreciate it, mate, and looking forward to catching up with you when I'm down there on the Sunday after the event, mate. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up, and maybe even if we can do a video on social media, it would be great to talk about what it was like finishing off for the third year to host LIV Golf Adelaide. And thank you also to Nigel Taylor for jumping on, and as I mentioned, I'll be keeping you updated with what Nigel is doing with his Everesting, and he's soon to begin his second Everesting challenge in February, as you've heard. So thank you to both Nigel and Rowan. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, stay on Walking the Fairways when you see it pop up on your notifications, or if you're looking for the latest episodes, because I plan to have a lot more spot interviews, people jumping on to have a yarn, bit of insight, and see what they're up to and how things are working. And I'll keep doing that. That's a new theme that we're bringing to you for Walking the Fairways on the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. Like I said, don't forget to check out the show notes. Everything is going to be involved there as well that you'll be able to click on and share. And also, please like, share, subscribe. Please pass it around to as many people as you can. That gets us a lot. Reviews are fantastic. That gets it in front of people's eyes when they're searching for different types of podcasts, and it just pops up in their feed as a suggestion. So I really do appreciate any reviews that you can put on your various platforms. Thank you very much in advance for doing that. And please make sure you subscribe so you get those notifications when the new episodes come out. You'll be informed that it's ready to go, and that's what we like to hear. Ladies and gentlemen, until next week, make sure you come and join us down at Cobram Barooga for the WebEx Players Series Murray River. But in the meantime, I'll leave you with it. You hit 'em clean, we'll keep 'em green, and I'll catch up with you very soon.